Hello everyone, we're carrying on with the Bible study sessions, looking today at the road to Emmaus from Luke's Gospel. We read of two of Jesus' followers walking towards the village of Emmaus. It is Easter Sunday, the first Easter, and they are leaving Jerusalem with heavy hearts because Jesus has died. Without realising it, they talk to Jesus as they trudge along the dusty road. He explains to them why the Messiah had to die, to rescue God's children from their sins. It has been laid out in the scriptures, but they didn't know how to understand it without his help. It is hard for anyone to understand how suffering and death result in victory, but they were lucky enough to have a Bible study lesson with Jesus himself. Not that they realised that it was Jesus, until they sit down to eat with him. When he takes the bread, gives thanks, and breaks it, that's when they realise who he is. He vanishes from their sight. Their despair is turned into joy. So a few questions. Who were these two people? Why didn't they recognise Jesus? And why were they leaving Jerusalem? So these are a few thoughts of mine. Who were they? We're not sure exactly. Only one is named Cleopas. It's possible that the other was his wife, or that they are two friends who are travelling together. They're not the 12 disciples, the main disciples who followed Jesus around every day, but they were his followers, and like the 11 remaining disciples, they have been left devastated by his death. Why didn't they recognise Jesus? There are a few possible reasons. They were walking on dusty roads, so everyone would have been wrapped up in cloaks to keep out the dust and the dirt. They were walking away from Jerusalem, facing the sun, and then the sun set as their walk progressed. It was about 7 miles to Emmaus, so it would have taken several hours to walk. They probably had their eyes down as they trudged along, weighed down by tiredness, but also by their grief. But most importantly, they weren't expecting to see Jesus, so they couldn't recognise him. How much do we miss because we're not looking for God? If a person won't let God into their lives, they limit his ability to work miracles for them. And even when he does, they don't notice. William Temple, the Archbishop of Canterbury during World War II, said, "When I pray, coincidences happen. When I don't pray, they don't." We have to make sure we make space for God in our lives and that we pay attention. So why were these two people leaving Jerusalem? They were going home because Jesus, the amazing man they had been following, had been killed on a cross. He couldn't be the Messiah, the Son of God, if he'd been killed, could he? So they were going home to grieve, to rest, and to work out what to do next. It all seemed so hopeless. Following Jesus had been risky, but they had believed he was God's chosen one, so it was worth the risk. Now that Jesus was gone, they didn't want to stay in Jerusalem, where they were in danger of being arrested either by the Jewish temple guards or by the Roman soldiers. None of them were known for their mercy, and they could just as easily have been killed as Jesus was. So it's much safer to leave Jerusalem and hide away until all this has blown over. But then meeting Jesus again changed everything. It says they got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. Despite being tired after walking all afternoon, despite knowing it was another 7 miles all the way back to Jerusalem, despite the dangers they faced in that city, now that they knew Jesus was alive, they had to find the other disciples. Winston Churchill said, "Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision." I'll say that again. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. They decided to go to the disciples, to wait for guidance from Jesus, and to face whatever the Jewish leaders and the Roman soldiers were going to throw at them. Jesus was worth the risk. After all, he'd come back from the dead, so he was the Son of God. God bless you all.